afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, so the story began when I actually dropped out of IIT and chose to pursue design at NID. That was 17 years ago. And honestly, my peers said, Rajat, you can't even draw. As a matter of fact, the 40 people who got chosen in my batch, I was the worst at drawing. So skill-wise, I had no clue as to how I would actually appear for the NID entrance examination. But anyways, I got through. My faculty said, you were waitlisted and you got through because somewhere in your entrance form, you had written that your interest lies in cooking. Like really? National Institute of Culinary Design. But nevertheless, so be it. And the journey began there because 4 years of staying at NID, actually I spent half of my time at IIM Ahmedabad studying art of war. The other half I was organizing events for them like Chaos at Confluence. And whatever time that was there in the campus, I kind of attended classes, trying to get some skills in film and video communication, trying to acquire skills in almost everything else actually. So I used to be found in the loom. I was actually on the Jacquard loom more than I was in the film and video studio. I would be found in the potter's wheel more than I was being found on the edit table. I was actually sitting and designing graphics for a whole lot of people, and I'm glad some of my faculties are here. That time, if they had got to know about this, I would have certainly not got my degree from the place. But genuinely speaking, I've come across this question a million times. So Rajat, what do you do? And I look up into the sky and say, I happen to make films, but I also designed a working prototype of a revolving refrigerator. But I also designed a perpetual calendar. And I also did branding for around hundreds of things. And I also did photography. I used to cook for 300 people in my college mess because our food used to be really, really, really nice. So what do I do? That's another question that I'm asked pretty often. Now, the what is the big question mark. And I genuinely used to get pretty much confounded with this question as to what is it that I do, who I am. It was almost like sounding, where do you come from? So I come from a clan called the Confused Indian. Born in Delhi, brought up in Kathmandu, Calcutta, found my finding in Ahmedabad, and right now working for the last 12 years in Mumbai. So, but my roots come from Pakistan. So really, who am I? So I guess the confused Indian kind of gets into my work as well. But there's only one thing that continues to actually remain common, is that I'm a storyteller. So storytelling as such, and that's also I use it once in a while, I say storytelling. And people ask, so you write books? No, I also have written a book. It's called Something to Read. But I use almost every possible medium to actually narrate a story. Like I said, food. How do you communicate a story through food? Well, eat it and I shall tell you how. But what is a story actually? What is storytelling? Anything that has a beginning, middle, and an end? Anything that narrates an emotion, an expression? How is it that one person actually genuinely gets restrained to the medium? Do I decide my expression as per the medium, or do I decide my medium as per the expression? So there are times when I'm walking. I was in Bhutan. It was a very interesting story of Bhutan, where I didn't have a camera, but I actually felt like something. Now, how do I express it? I don't have a camera. I want to express it, but because I've been trained to only express in an audio and a visual medium, do I not get to express what I feel? Really? So actually I picked up a spatula, I picked up some local stuff, made something, and the food actually expressed the emotion that I was going through. It was nothing. The expression of nothingness. I know it might just sound a little bit metaphysical, but actually there was an expression, there was an emotion of nothingness that I was actually feeling there. So what exactly do I do? Or what exactly do I master in? Genuinely. Even I don't know. Is a person actually defined by skills? Is actually a person defined by what medium does that person use to actually tell what he wants to tell? If that is so, then I don't know what I am. But certainly, my work is an expression of my enthusiasm. And as I believe, consistency is nothing but a last refuge of unimaginative. So, imagination flies. I do not have the fear of a medium. And therefore, my work goes beyond the peripheries of the skills that I garnered. As a matter of fact, I'm a very, very average filmmaker. I got repeats in visual scripting and all the courses of films. I'm a very average chef. I don't know half the skills required to even cut in the right shape and size. I'm a very average writer. You would have figured out my English really is very average. My grammatical errors are pretty much pointed out by a lot of people. I'm an average musician, and I'm an average everything else. But one thing that I've been honest to is to my expression. My intent is to create without the fear of failure or the desire of success, and to be honest to my thought and emotion, ideation and execution. And that's exactly where I come from. So with my 12 years of almost exploring every form of expression, and actually going beyond one sense, in the sense, audio, visual, taste, smell, touch. By the way, I used to actually do acupressure massage to earn my living when I was in college. So all of that, I create a lot of fragrances through a lot of incense and little ethers. So it's actually really nothing but catering to a lot of senses. So when, with my last 17 years of so-called exploring various mediums of expression or media of expression, I finally figured out that my journey could be divided into 4 quadrants. And that 4 quadrants, which I kind of like to call as the 4 quadrants of creativity. The E quadrant, which is that of executor. Now this was the initial part of my life, where I used to serve somebody, lots of creative people. It used to be their ideas, their vision, and my job was to execute to the best of my understanding of what their vision was. So I was serving a creative person and executing their vision. Then came in of a small creative house. So the S quadrant. This is where I was running my own production house. I was taking briefs from lots of marketing and brand managers, and they used to give me a brief. I used to follow the brief to the best of my understanding, but finally the decision-making yet used to remain in the most non-creative people who thought they were the most creative people in the world. And, but I had to finally serve them. Each of my work created in the maximum part of my life here, the 7 to 8 years, is not owned by me, is owned by them. Even if I want to exhibit it, I have to ask them, can I please show my film on YouTube? No, you can't. We own the rights. Okay. Can I please show it in a closed audience? Are you making money out of it? No, I'm not. Okay, maybe. We'll have one representative accompanying you. But they can't afford. No, I'm sorry. So this was the maximum part of my life, which obviously led to a serious amount of frustration, because after creating 100 ad films, what was it that I created for? Do I own even one of them? Not really. 30 music videos, which I started from the ideation to the entire execution. Do I own it? No. As a matter of fact, a lot of music companies pull it down from YouTube after having more than 1 million clicks. The third quadrant. This is where currently I am. It's a B quadrant. It's something called the big creative house. Now, these are your agencies, the biggest agencies, where you actually own your work. You start from scratch. You build your own IP. You build your own intellectual property. This is where I am currently, trying to build my own cinema with my own money so that nobody has the right to ever tell me, ek aur item number dal do. And this is where I would love to be. I call this the I quadrant. Is the innovator or the visionary? The Vikram Sarabhai, who is perhaps one of my biggest mentor, and I follow him thoroughly because he's one person who actually did not restrain himself to any one form of medium in terms of whether expression or to create. Now, as a matter of fact, as I said, this is out of my experience, more than 95% of the creative people in the world belong to this quadrant. Only less than 5% belong to these two quadrants. But strangely, more than 95% of the world's IP and wealth belongs to them. Less than 5% belongs to these guys. So what exactly do these people don't have that these have? More skills? Not really. Actually, they have more skills here. More time? Thank God. That was one commodity that was equally divided amongst everybody. More money. Subhash Chandra was a owner of an aate ki chakki when he started Z. It's not really as such. He didn't even have enough money. So what is it that these guys have that they don't have? This is called pregnant pause. Well, it's actually the mindset. The mindset of this quadrant is driven by security. Trade your skills, trade your creativity in return for your bread, butter, and mango juice. You're not allowed to say these things in the other B word in Gujarat, right? So security. Whereas these guys, they work for freedom. Freedom of time, but most importantly, freedom of creativity. These guys, when I was these guys, we used to work for money. You have a skill, trade it to make money. Whereas here, it is to generate wealth, legacy, royalty, temporary, comes and goes. These guys are driven by immediate gratification. अभी काम किया and अभी के अभी results चाहिए. Can't think beyond a month. Can't think beyond 3 months. Can't think beyond even 6 months, which is why I kept on doing advertising. Quick turnarounds, good money, security, comfort zone. Whereas they have an appetite for delayed gratification. The difference is between a crop farmer and an orchard farmer. The crop farmer works every 6 months, produces a crop, plows the field, sows the seed, harvests the crop, and again 6 months later does the same. His child grows up to do the same. And if he doesn't decide to be a farmer, these guys, the orchard farmer, does it once. But instead of sowing paddy seeds, sows apple seeds. What happens? Over a period of 11 years, 15 years, depending on the tree that it's growing, there is nothing that he is seeing, no results. Most of the times that seed was actually growing the roots. He doesn't even see anything that is happening. But once the trees have grown, all he has to do is just go and pluck the fruits. His child, as well, doesn't have to ever plow the field again. But actually benefit from the fruits which his father had grown once upon a time. We are traders. We trade our own skill, and we live in the peripheries of our skills. Whereas these guys don't have an issue leveraging on other people's skills. It's okay if you're not the best of the lot. You have an idea, you have people to execute. We love this question. How? How to do what to do? We live our life within this periphery. They ask only one question. Why? The intent over mechanism. If the intent is clear, the mechanism follows. Because the mechanism leads to a lot of fearful thinking. When I was not trained to be a photographer or filmmaker, for me to take a picture was just take a picture. And then came in a lot of intellect, a lot of knowledge. And then came in fearful thinking. 2/3, 1/3, it has to be perfectly composed frame, it has to have this, it has to be that. Is there enough depth? What is lost? The content. What is lost is the intent. What is lost is the flavor, the mood, the emotion, because you've got completely tied down by the craft. It has to look pretty, it has to look so and so forth. Everything else starts playing, most importantly. So genuinely and honestly, I know I'm standing in a house where we are all talking about intellect and knowledge. But at times I feel it's a baggage and a curse to mankind, because it does lead to a lot of fearful thinking. Thank you, guys.